So for those of you who don't know me, and I've tried to get around the room a little bit, but I think I've still failed with some of you. My name is Andy Baker. I'm the Positive Behaviour Coach. I run multiple businesses, author, speaker, and entrepreneur. I've been working self-employed, as I said, for 15 years. And although I sometimes have to convince myself, like Tracy was saying, about me being successful, I've done all right. But it hasn't always been like that, and I've had to battle throughout my career at various times of dealing with a busy brain, or sometimes a slightly unproductive brain, sometimes a chaotic brain, but still managing to come out decent at the end. And I'm sure some of you in the room can relate to that for something having to overcome. But over that time, I've managed to find some quite useful tools that have helped me along the way, so I thought I'd share those with you tonight. Now, when we're looking at different types of brains, there'd probably be 3 different types of thinking or brains within the room, okay? So give me an indication if your brain is like a browser that's got over 100 different tabs open, and one of them is potentially playing a song you heard as a child on an advert, and you can't figure out where it's coming from. Yeah, a few of you in the room, okay. Give me a hands up if instead, maybe your brain's a little bit more like you've only got one tab open, but then a pop-up comes, and that's you disappearing down a side quest for about an hour. Is it going to be like that? Okay. Lastly, I'd like to raise your hand if you're one of those people who can hyper-focus on just one tab, one thing. However, that might mean you forget to eat, sleep, and drink. We've got pee, yeah, toilet breaks forgotten. Absolutely. Okay. So all of those are different types of your kind of busy brain, and you're having to kind of work with alongside. And there are cons and there are pros to those, right? Some of the cons. Sometimes whether you've hyper-focused on one job all day and then don't feel you've got anything else done, whether it be you've multitasked a million jobs but you don't feel you've got anything done. I should imagine sometimes you're constantly chasing your own tail to try and find time for those extra jobs you just don't feel you've completed, okay? That can obviously lead to burnout, it can lead to stress, it can lead to anxiety, it can cause all sorts of problems. And I'm afraid I am one of those individuals that my brain is like a cat that's been put in a room full of 100 people with laser pens, okay? That it will go all over the place, and my staff attest to this, that one of the things they know is the scariest thing they'll hear, usually at 4 o'clock while I'm traveling back from a training course, is, I've had an idea. Because they know they're going down a rabbit hole of a new project, new idea, new initiative, okay? However, there's other times, and this is a prime example, is that sometimes I'll get hyper-focused on something, and that means I can spend an entire day researching about zebras and then buy and adopt a zebra because I've decided on a new marketing strategy we're going to do in my business. And we do have over here, actually, we forgot to take her out. This is Zebra Meaden, and she's a toy that we put around our meeting rooms as a part of an initiative as far as a marketing strategy, and we did actually adopt a zebra, so that is a genuine, true story. She's networking tonight. So there is some cons, but there is some pros as well, right? We have to kind of recognize that many of us in the room, who here feels that your brain actually allows you to be really adaptable? Okay, it allows you to think outside the box and find different ways of approaching things that other people wouldn't even have thought of. Okay? It allows you to get more done in 10 minutes than most people seem to be able to get done in an hour. Yeah. Okay? So there's some pros, right? But this is one of the challenges that sometimes, if you imagine that I gave you guys a race car, a Formula One racing car, and I got you and I said, you're allowed to drive it round the high streets of Nottingham. That would be a pretty miserable drive, right? It's suddenly a case of, well, I can't get the speed up. I've suddenly gone past the turn I needed. I didn't get time to read the signs. I keep getting in trouble for not driving too fast, and I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere, and you have a miserable journey. If, however, we could coach you to drive in the right way and put you in the right environment, you'd fly, right? So this is where I thought I'd give a little bit of a talk today around some of the things that I found most useful for me to allow me to build multiple businesses and remain productive. Okay, so this is where I need to make sure my brain is fed. Okay, so that is F-E-D-D. So the first F is for focus. So one of the things, I'm going to give you 2 tools that I use, and my favorite tools as far as focus is concerned. One is, who here sets goals? Raise your hand. Okay, so one of the things, we sometimes overestimate what we can complete in a year, but we underestimate what we can complete in 10. So sometimes we go, I could get this done in a day, and then suddenly at the end of it, you feel like you failed. One of the things that I found very useful is I set micro goals. At the beginning of the week, on a Sunday evening, I sit down and I write 3 goals that I want to complete that week. From those 3 goals, I then break those down into the micro goals, which I can then align or allocate to certain days. What that allows me to do is that rather than having the hundreds of goals that are potentially up in my brain, I'm just choosing the 3 that are priority for that week to get done. And as we'll go into one of the Ds later, that allows me to get a better dopamine hit from successes in the week. Okay? But that's the thing I do Sunday night, so I'm hitting Monday morning running. The second thing that I also do as far as the focus side of things is anybody familiar with the Eisenhower matrix?
Yes.
Okay. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Eisenhower matrix, I did bring a visual. For those of you at the back, you may not be able to see it, but I've done the best. Now, we actually have this on a board in my office, and all my staff team know that when they are bringing me challenges, problems, conversations, they should be following the Eisenhower matrix before they're disturbing me. So the basically is looking at how important or how urgent a job is. So we have the 4 quadrants. It's either urgent and important, and that means that's something I need to do. That's the stuff that I choose for my goal setting, so I need to do it. Then we've got something that's not urgent, but it is important. It's my expertise required, but I don't have to do it straight away, and that's why then we schedule it. It might be a following week that I do it. I might follow it up later. Then we've got the urgent but not important. Well, for my staff team, why aren't they doing that? That's something that needs doing, but it doesn't necessarily need my expertise. And therefore, we either delegate it, or we use things like we outsource it, or we use things like AI now. Okay, and we utilize AI to our advantage to leverage on those times. And we actually have this in the office. So the not urgent or important, we have it that we fuck it off. It's been it in most systems, but we have it on a big writing, fuck it off. If it's not important and not urgent, why are we wasting our time on it whatsoever? Although I have caught myself sometimes, rather than doing an important meeting, going, I just need to break this box up to put in the bin. Okay? That's procrastination 101. So they're my 2 favorite tools for focus. The next is efficiency. There's a couple of things that I use for efficiency. Who is aware of the Pomodoro technique? Okay. Some of you, I can see busy brain people going, yes, these are my strategies. Pomodoro technique, we have this as an entire office. So the timer is started at 9 o'clock. The timer goes off at 25 past 9. We have a break. At 5 minutes later, we start the timer again. And then 5 minutes, we have a break. 25 minutes, 5 minutes, and then we get a 15-minute break. Our whole office does that. We now get more breaks in a day than we did before, but actually our efficiency and productivity is better. A few benefits from it. 1, it allows hyperfocus. People aren't talking to each other during that time. The rule is they can send each other a message in the chat, or they can go over and have a conversation or step out of the room and have a meeting. So the office is quieter, it's more efficient. But to get more fun, it means we're all taking a break at the same time, so we actually have more laughs. But also it means for my slightly busy brain that sometimes needs a dopamine hit, meaning I'm now going, I've got 25 minutes to get this done. Now I've got a competition with myself, and I've just made it exciting. So the Pomodoro technique is fantastic if you have a busy brain, being strict with yourself. But the other thing that I use quite effectively as far as that efficiency is concerned is time blocking. I have set times that I'm going to do certain activities, certain tasks, certain days of the week that I need to do those particular things. For those of you who get stuck on one thing, well, now you've got an hour to do it, and then you've got to go do something else that you would need to do, because I haven't even started that social media thing because instead I'm doing this. Okay, so time blocking is really useful as well. Then we've got our 2 Ds. Now, I've mentioned it a couple of times. Dopamine. Are you all familiar with the term or what we mean by dopamine? That neurotransmitter, most people are familiar with it. Our pleasure hormone, essentially. So when we're looking at dopamine, knowing how you work best. Has anybody ever heard of the marshmallow test? Yeah. The Stanford marshmallow test, right? If you haven't ever seen it, go online, search it on YouTube, watch children doing marshmallow test. It is one of the most heartwarming things you'll ever see, where they put a marshmallow in front of a child. They say, you can have that straight away if you want, or you can wait 15 minutes, and when I come back, you can get 2 marshmallows. Now, which is better, 1 marshmallow or 2 marshmallows? 2 marshmallows. Not for some individuals. Some individuals, yeah, but there's 1 now. Yeah, but there's 2 later. But there's 1 now. So some kids, the case of they eat it before the experiment has even left the room. Whereas others, it's a case of And it's beautiful seeing the amazing strategy they have for delaying gratification, where some of them will like put a bowl over it so they can't see it. They'll talk about it's pretending it's something else. It's a bar of soap. It's not really a marshmallow. Or some of them will turn their chair and just ignore it for a bit. Some of them will take a nibble and then put it on the bottom so nobody knew. And some just lick it to go, that doesn't count. Okay? But it's amazing how they try to delay that gratification. But knowing which of those two type of people, whether you're a kind of a hunter or a farmer, is useful for understanding the best way of managing your day and getting your dopamine as you need it to. Who in the room writes lists? Who in the room, when writing a list, sometimes they do an extra job and they write that list at the thing at the bottom of the list just so they can tick it off to get a little bit of a dopamine hit. Okay? That's you dopamine mining. So knowing that's the thing you want to do, this is where Pomodoro comes in. 25 minutes, dopamine hit. 5 minutes of socializing, engaging, having fun. I don't have to focus for 3 hours. I just need to do 25 minutes and that's easier. But I'm also very strict with my out-of-work routines. Routines really help you to understand and manage your dopamine because a routine can take away. So going the autopilot. I do the same routine in my morning routine. It's boring as hell, but I do the same thing every day because I do not want my cognitive capacity having to work really hard on stuff that should be automatic. I want to save that brain work for ideas. So getting routines into your life are really useful. Individuals with sometimes busy brains hate routines because they're boring, but you need them. You just got to make sure you can then reward yourself after following that routine, right? Okay? I'll let you figure out your own rewards, how you're going to do that. That's a personal thing. That's not for me. Okay, the last D, so we've got dopamine, is discipline. Well, we're looking at discipline. Tracy already mentioned it earlier as far as accountability is concerned as an example. I do wins. So this is one of the benefits of Spark, and I'm involved in other groups that also do this. But one of the things is, when you join Spark as a member, we actually then have this we have a kind of accountability group. We have a WhatsApp group. It's going to be moving on to an app. But every Monday, we check in with what are our goals for the week. Halfway through the week, we do a gratitude where we thank other members of the group, whether it be for referrals or whether it be for just help or whether it be just from some advice or anything like that. On a Friday, we do a reflection of, hey, how have you gone this week? What have you achieved? And a big part of that, part of the dopamine hit, is also the wins. How many of you sometimes, when you get to the end of the week, you feel you haven't done anything good, but actually, if you were to really look back on the week itself, you've actually achieved way more than you realized. Okay? But it's so easy to ignore the positive because it's easier to focus on the negative. So getting that and having people around you that will hold you accountable to be able to go, don't be silly. Check that out. What did you do? You did that. I saw you put a social media post out that you'd never done before. That's amazing because that's more than you did last week and that's fantastic. That's the benefit in being parts of the community, whether it be a networking organization like Spark or whether it be a mentorship group or a mastermind or whatever it is. Okay? Now, I know some of you may be thinking, all of this process, I don't have time for all of that. I'm too busy. If I was to give you 7 hours to chop down a tree, my advice would be the most effective and efficient way of doing it is to spend 5 of those hours sharpening your axe. That putting that working at the beginning actually makes you more efficient and more effective at the outcome. Just to summarize, as far as we've got the focus, we've got the efficiency, we've got the dopamine and understanding how your brain works based on dopamine, and then we've got the discipline as well. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time and attention. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.